Good morning. Today our lesson will be about statistical diagrams part 1. So you will be able to read and interpret different statistical diagrams. When you have collected data from survey, you can display it in various ways to make it easier to understand and interpret. The most common ways to display data are pictograms, bar charts, pie charts, and line graphs. Today, we will talk about pictograms and bar charts. Pictogram. Pictogram is a way of showing data using images. Each image will stand for a certain number of things. So if you see in our pictogram, we are talking about apples sold. So the best image to represent the apples, it's the apple itself. Here in pictogram, key is very important. They show us that the key under the pictogram. They told us that one apple represents 10 apples and half an apple represents 5 apples. So, as you see on the pictogram, January has 10 apples, February has 40 because we have 4 apples, means 4 times 10, 40 apples. March we have 25 and April is 20. So here the most number of apples will be sold in February. Given a pictogram, key circle represents 8 books. The pictogram shows the books Claire read last year. So let us interpret this pictogram. If each circle represents 8, means 2 circles will be 16. A full circle and a quarter of the circle. Quarter of the circle will be 8 divided by 4, so 2. So we have 8 and 2 give me 10 books for the crime. 8 and 4 for the half circle will be 12 for horror box, and 3 quarters of the circle means 6 because half of the circle 4 and a quarter 2, so the total is 6 books for factual. How many romance books did Claire read? It's easy, we can write it directly 16. How many horror books did Claire read? Also, it's 12. How many books in total did Claire read last year? So we will add all the numbers and the answer is 44 books. Another example, now each circle represents 10 pounds. The pictogram shows the amount of money raised by students in some tutor groups at a school. Complete the raised column. So if each circle represents 10, we have for the S, we have 60 because it's 6 circles. For the T, 30 because we have 3 circles. For P, it's 35 because each circle represents 10 and half circle represents 5, so it's 35. Then complete the pictogram for tutor group E because it's 45 means we need 4 full circles and half a circle. How much money What is a bar graph? A bar graph is a graph using bars to show data. Actually, it's one of the most common ways that used to display the data. Bar graphs can be either vertical or horizontal. Bar charts are used for visual impact and for comparison. If you see the bars, you should have first a title for your bar graph, and you have to label the x-axis and the y-axis. The y-axis usually take the interval, means the value from one step to the other, the difference between the two steps. And the x-axis contains usually the characters of the bars. This example shows bar graph for favorite sport. Any bar graph should have a title and labels for the x-axis and the y-axis. Bar graphs can be used for this data with single categories like color of hair, number of pets, favorite sports, ice cream flavors, or group discrete data like age groups or examination marks or shoe sizes, for example. In this paragraph, they are asking what is the most favorite sport. It's very obvious that it's soccer because it is the longest bar, which has 9 people. And what is the least favorite sport is the hockey because it is the shortest bar and it has 2 people who have favorite sport hockey. How many students were asked in this survey? To find this question, we have to first check how many students ask for each favorite sport and then add them all. So 9 for soccer, 7 for basketball, 5 for tennis, 2 for hockey, and 6 for baseball, and the sum will be 29 students. How many more students prefer basketball than hockey? Basketball has 7 students while hockey has 2 students, so 7 minus 2 is. Another type of bar charts is dual bar charts. Dual bar charts can be used to compare two sets of similar data. For example, temperature in two cities, favorite sports between boys and girls, and rainfall in the two cities. If you look at the dual bar chart, you can see double bars on the same line or in the same month. Knowing that here the key is very important because here colors play a very important role in order to express or to interpret data. The blue color is for London, yellow color for Bristol. So we have 5 months, and we can see that the scale here is telling us that each two squares represent 10 centimeters of rainfall. Which city has greater rainfall in February? So we'll go to February and check. We can find that the yellow bar, which represents Bristol, is greater than the blue bar. So Bristol is the city that has greater rainfall in February. What is the mean amount of rainfall in London? You know that mean is finding the average. So you have to add all the centimeters of rainfall over the 5 months and then divide it by 5. And be careful when they are asking for London, so you will look for the blue bars. Adding all the amounts and dividing by 5, you will get 30.5, the average rainfall over the 5 months. Also, we have composite bar charts. Composite bar charts used to display data in a single bar to save space. So if you don't have much space, you can put 2 bars over each others because these 2 bars are representing the same thing. For example, amount of time spent in different lessons and activities in a school day. If you look here, our composite bar chart is representing books read in January. And the colors also here are very important. So fiction for the red color and non-fiction for the blue color. How to read this composite bar charts? It's easy for us to find the non-fiction for each person, but to find the fiction, you should subtract the last number in the above by from the first number down. How? For example, if you look for Annie, we know that she read 5 books nonfiction. To find how many books she read fiction, we should subtract 17 minus 5 to find the answer. How many fiction books did Annie read in January? We will find that it's 17 minus 5, which is 12 books. What kind of books did Naila prefer to read in January? We will look at the Naila. We can find that the blue bar is much greater than the red bar. So this means that she preferred non-fiction books than fiction books. How many non-fiction books were read in January? So we will go to the blue bars, add the numbers, and find that there are 23 books read in January. So our lesson today was about statistical diagrams, and our objective was to learn how to read and interpret different statistical diagrams, and we talked today about two kinds, which are pictogram and bar charts.